Hey, you guys. Wow, I didn't even look in a mirror before I got on here. Oof. So we were supposed to have Mandy run this call tonight because she's the expert in this kind of stuff. The beauty of this business is we do not have to be an expert. All we have to know is how to invite people to talk to the expert. Unfortunately, Mandy ended up in the emergency room tonight and maybe admitted to the hospital. So you guys are stuck with me. I think Kat is going to hop on when she can. So I'm going to make this super quick. I thought about canceling, but I was like, nope. I told you guys I would show up, and I wanted to, just be accountable and stick to my word. If you guys were going to come, we can always do this again if what I say based on Mandy's notes don't make sense. But basically, she was, and I'm sorry, I'm going to read you guys. So Axio, I don't know, have any of you guys had a positive experience with Axio? I know for me, I have struggled with sort of feeling, hey Kate, feeling like I am running through or swimming through mud to get my brain to work sometimes. Oh God, thank God Kat is here. God. Cats can do the heavy lifting. Can you hear me, Kat? Okay. You're muted. Okay. Oh, are you still on your call? She's finishing up her third-party call. Anyway, Axio has really been a game changer for me. I have this feeling of like swimming through mud in my brain sometimes. And it really makes it go away. I feel a huge difference in my mood, in my clarity, and in my like motivation levels. And so what was really interesting is Mandy said that those feelings of lack of motivation, low mood, fatigue, sleep issues, and just kind of not wanting to partake in usual activities or cognitive issues with performance at usual activities, memories, and things like that. You guys, that's the winter blues. That is seasonal affectional disorder. It's really, really common even in among people who don't typically experience depression throughout the year. And it's largely due to the lack of sunlight because that messes with our circadian rhythm or our sleep patterns. And it actually reduces our serotonin levels. And what Axio does is it helps trigger a neurotransmitter that helps regulate mood. So she said there was actually several ingredients that help support, obviously, like I said, the mood, the cognitive function, and energy. DMAE is one of them. I don't know how much you guys have researched Axio, but from what I understand, DMAE is actually something that psychiatrists will sometimes prescribe to their patients in lieu of psychotropic drugs. It's said to elevate mood, improve memory, learning, increase energy, and it indirectly affects choline levels in the brain. So I don't know, I'm a nutrition nerd. You guys probably all know this, but egg yolk is actually really high in choline, and it's one of the reasons why we're supposed to introduce that as baby's first food because the brain needs choline. So DMAE / Axio indirectly affects the choline levels in the brain, and that allows the body to convert acetylcholine, which is the neurotransmitter I was saying that regulates mood, and that's why it increases mood. Did you guys have any questions on that? Did that make sense? Anyone? So L-theanine is another ingredient in Axio, and it's actually an amino acid that promotes relaxation. It supports, I'm reading directly from the notes that she sent me. She said it supports the elevation of 3 neurotransmitters, GABA, serotonin, and dopamine. And all 3 of those help regulate mood, concentration, sleep, and cognitive skills. She also said on the flip side, it supports the reduction of chemicals in the brain related to anxiety and stress. So that's pretty interesting, actually. So it sounds to me like so the amino acid L-theanine that is in Axio is helping. So I guess that it's activating our brain to produce more of these neurotransmitters, GABA, serotonin, and dopamine. And that's what's helping regulate mood, concentration, sleep, and cognitive skills. So that's why when people say Axio is like a Nerve2 activator for the brain, I think that's what they mean, because it's activating our own ability to produce these neurotransmitters. Is that right, Kat?
Yes.
Oh my God, I feel so smart. Feel free to take the baton.
Okay, so I'm not sure I heard everything, but were you going through the ingredients?
So what I said is I was just going over like kind of the symptoms of the winter blues. I said that it's just due to the lack of sunlight that messes with the circadian rhythm, and that our serotonin levels drop, and that the neurotransmitters that are triggered, that like the ingredients in Axio trigger our brain to produce these neurotransmitters that help, that activate the brain to kind of, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
There's a lot of really cool things about Axio.
Yeah. And I'm just kind of, I'm reading.
Read that off, and then I'll share a couple more things.
Yeah, I'm like basically reading Mandy's notes and interpreting it, or processing it.
Read it, and I'll give some practical.
Okay. Yeah. So just to recap, sorry, she had said DMAE is said to elevate the mood, improve memory, learning, increase energy. But what I thought it was interesting that it indirectly affects choline levels in the brain, which converts to acetylcholine, which is the neurotransmitter that regulates mood. Then we talked about the L-theanine, which I find super interesting. She said pine bark is said to boost cerebral blood flow, connected to many things, but notably inflammation and oxidative stress in the brain. Can you elaborate on that?
About the pine bark or the theanine? Which one is that?
Pine bark.
So pine bark has a lot of positives to it. They recently changed it, for anybody who's been in the business for a little while, to from Monterey pine bark to maritime pine bark. And there are a lot of things that are kind of way not necessary for us to kind of go into, talking about like OPCs and neurotropics, but basically it helps support the gut. The pine bark help the things like it's a really fancy long word, but proanthocyanidins are basically, they call them OPCs, I'm
sorry, come on, OPC, yeah, you know me, sorry.
You know me. Basically, the whole reason why people's brains don't work is because their guts are on fire and vice versa. So Monterey pine bark is actually being used in a lot of natural supplementation to help people's brains and calming their brains and helping them to function better. Even Dr. David Perlmutter has created this like brain focus kind of supplement, and it's pine bark. So it's been used for like centuries, for skin, centuries, probably a century. But the French have used it in like skincare cream and as pycnogenol. So it's anti-aging. It's all good stuff. Going on back onto what you were saying. Go ahead.
Can you elaborate on it? Says it reduces the inflammation and oxidative stress in the brain.
What, the pine bark?
Well, yeah, I guess so. My question is reducing, if we factor in, so we know that Nerve2 reduces our oxidative stress overall by 40% within 30 days. But is that not all over? Like, wouldn't that be sufficient for reducing the oxidative stress in the brain?
Okay, so that may be harder for me to explain, even though in my head I get why they're different. But it's probably going to have something to do with the blood-brain barrier. And explaining that to you at this moment could be challenging. I could get a book out and you know, read to you. But the gist is that there are some things that cross the blood-brain barrier and some things don't. And in the case of, for instance, as a sidebar, like somebody who has a head trauma, they automatically are a gut patient. So it's kind of like a feedback loop. And so I have experienced myself a total change in how I function when I have Axio. And when I remove it, which you saw when I was detoxed,
yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's like I couldn't put words together, and it took a while because I had to like heal my gut and like reseal my you know, the permeability and so forth. But the beautiful thing is that that type of stuff doesn't have to be at the tip of our tongue. We just know that it helps to help our our brain to function at a higher level, and used in conjunction with Nerve 2, but not at the same time, is, I was looking for the pictures to be able to show you because it's so transformative. What it did for a patient of Dr. Brett Brimhall's, that this is why he's here. I don't know if you spoke about him at all, but I know him. I mean, we graduated around the same time, different schools, but his family has always been known for, they have a huge reputation in the nutraceutical world, and is amazing that, you know, he was like, okay, yeah, Nerve 2, that's cool. But it was Nerve 2 combined with Axio for this child who was, you know, having brain-based like ADD type issues where he was not able to focus, concentrate, or even have a good dexterity. And this before and after picture with 2 weeks of using the 2, activating the body sprinkler system and the Nerve 2 activation in the brain, literally it was a drastic change in his handwriting and his ability to focus and so forth. So and this guy's an elite now because of literally what he saw, that nothing else he had ever done in his practice, no cold laser, no adjustments, nothing had ever changed this child. And that's really powerful because this guy's a neurologist and, you know, chiropractic neurologist, chiropractor for 18, 19 years, and a nutrition person. So to have that type of validation was like, wow. And so I encourage anybody, if you really, really want to like get into the nitty gritty of how this is going to help, especially in combination with the Nerve 2 protein, you should check Dr. Brett Brimhall out and type in Axio and Dr. Brett Brimhall.
Okay. Is it Carrie Matthews? Is that her name? The boy?
Carrie Williams.
Carrie Williams. Yeah. So I met her son on the bus to that in Puerto Vallarta when we were doing the school.
Mm-hmm.
And it was actually seeing the boy and hearing Carrie tell his story that made me go home and put my own kids on it. Because I was kind of like, well, I drink it and I knew it helped me, but I was like, I don't want to spend the money.
That's when I started drinking it, like, when I met her.
Yeah, like I don't know. Like I was like, I don't want to spend the extra money. Like my kids need the Nerve 2, I know that, but like that's fine, you know. And so he actually, I don't know if you know this whole story. I'm sure you do, but he was actually diagnosed with autism,
mm-hmm.
and when he was young, she didn't say the exact age, and I think he's 8 now. And she said that they had this was in September, and they had just mainstreamed him into a regular school without an IEP, without a 504. His teachers had no idea that there was ever an autism diagnosis. And he doesn't even know that there was ever an autism diagnosis. And it was interesting. Like I could see the look in his eyes. Like I could see it was still there. But he was just highly functioning. It was really, really interesting, very powerful. And you guys, so I came home and I put my kids, 2 of my kids on Axio. You guys have maybe seen the video that I did. I went live and talked about it in Health Evolution. Grayson, my son, which I won't get into his whole story, but I thought he was autistic for a while. And Kat, would you known him? She's been adjusting him since birth. Basically, she adjusted me throughout my whole pregnancy. Would you say that we dodged an autism bullet with him? Yeah,
absolutely.
Like I'm not making that up. And one of the things that dairy is obviously like a big thing for him. But when I put him on Axio, he goes like this with his hands and he paces, and he's aware of it. And I noticed that it gets significantly worse when he's not on Protandim and when he's not eating, a gluten-free like whole foods diet. But we put him on Axio, and it did happen to be like, I think he was mostly dairy-free also, but he actually sat down next to me at dinner one night and he said, "Mommy, did you notice I don't do that thing with my hands anymore?"
Oh, the choreoform movements.
Right? Yeah. And then my daughter, Alexis, has ADD, and she came home and started doing her homework. Like she doesn't do that. So it's really amazing. And I can just tell from myself. And Mandy, actually, who, like I said, she can't be here for tonight, but she was actually saying that
I found it. I sent it to you.
Oh, she's basically survived this semester at school and like some debilitating like seasonal affectual, like real significant mood stuff by doing 2 Axios a day. She said it's really been a game changer for her.
And I sent you the picture that you can do the before and after through Messenger of Luke Williams.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I sent it there if you want to screen share it.
Yeah, I'll screen share. Can you talk about, we have about 10 more minutes. Can you talk about the magnesium and the Bs?
Yeah, so I don't have the notes that she sent in front of us, but basically magnesium is a very crucial part of us being able to just do anything in the methylation cycle, any function of our body. It's depleted by stress and sugar. It's very vital mineral, and it's not a mineral that a lot of us are consuming, but we're actually depleting with stress. The more stressed you are, the more you're depleting your magnesium. And so magnesium helps calm the muscles of the body, helps balance out a variety of processes in the body. And you need it to make ATP, you need it to make mitochondria, you need it to be able to cycle through the methylation cycle, the folate cycle, the methionine, and the cycle that goes into CBS, which is where our glutathione is made, and magnesium's crucial. B vitamins.
Wait, hold on. Can I just add in? I found her notes.
Okay, great.
She said that magnesium deficiency and depression / mood decline is absolutely connected, and there's lots of literature connecting those two. She said the exact pathway mechanisms are unknown, but it's extremely, magnesium has a really important effect on hormones, neurotransmitters, and enzymes, all that play a role in mood regulation, and it's also really linked to systemic inflammation.
And then, the B vitamins, read what she said about the B vitamins, and I can expand on that and explain a little bit more if anybody has questions too.
Mm-hmm. Okay, she said B12 and B6 are heavy hitters in brain function. Low levels of both are connected to mood decline. More research is needed in this area as the effects are as the effects on deep depression, but mild mood decline has been linked to both. B vitamins also help with fatigue. I definitely could tell that. Even though more research is needed, B12 does have an intricate role in neuron health.
Enormous role in neuron health. It's all related to the cycle, the methylation cycle. Again, everything. Oh yeah, here's the before and after. That's 2 weeks apart with NRF2 and decaf Axio, actually.
Ooh, I definitely, so that's interesting. That's decaf. So I had always thought that the caffeine helps push it through the blood-brain barrier.
I'm sure it does. This kid had been getting like a lot of things though, they're gluten-free, dairy-free, chiropractic, cold laser, NRF2 for a long time, and then they added the Axio. I find that the reason why, this may have helped with the concentration or the focus or the just kind of some of the side effects of what we see in the autism population. But for focus and attention, the DMAE is illegal in other countries. That's why they have decaf without the DMAE, so that we can be more global. And that's the other reason why they changed to Monterey, from the Monterey to the Maritime Pine Bark, because it's kind of more universal and we're a global company. But the DMAE was used regularly until Ritalin came on the scene. So it's like a natural version of Adderall, a natural version of Ritalin, though it doesn't have the negative deleterious effects that taking, a stimulant would, like that, if you don't have a problem. And it has been said in the science meetings that Axio actually has a cumulative effect. So that, and then B vitamins are very crucial. There are a few B vitamins in there. There's niacin, which is B3, which some people have experienced in niacin flush. So if somebody flushes afterwards, it just could be the niacin. There's quercetin also. I don't know if she mentioned quercetin in there, but quercetin is also one of the ingredients, and it's a powerful antioxidant, and it's like a natural antihistamine. It really helps the brain to function better and the whole body, because it's really like drying, but not drying in a bad way, just is kind of removing, it's used in things like dehisc, Joy, like when people have like sinus problems, quercetin and all that is really great. It's a very powerful antioxidant. So anyway, the niacin flush is what people have heard of, but B3 is used to counteract some of the, it's an antidepressant in and of itself, some people say, but it's used to also balance out the methylated B vitamins that are in there, like B12. So that is key. B6, so many people are deficient in B6, especially anybody who's on a paleo diet tend to be B6 deficient. If you're not dreaming at night, you're probably B6 deficient. It has a lot to do if you have a short luteal phase, like if you're not able to get pregnant, you're not able to make progesterone and so forth, you're B6 deficient. There's a lot involved in a B6 deficiency. I'm not sure that there's enough in there necessarily to replete a deficiency, but I can tell you that when I have an Axio or two, I absolutely do not need to take a methylated B vitamin. I can go every other day with that. So that's one thing. What else? Brain calming, brain soothing. Some people like to be caffeinated. Some people don't. It's not the same type of caffeine as a coffee. I've found that people just don't get jittery. The one thing I do want to call everybody's attention to, I would not take it after 2 or 3 p.m. in the afternoon unless you want to be up all night, in a focused way, not necessarily an anxious way, just a focused way. That's number one. And number two, it must be taken an hour apart from Nerf2. It has green tea in it, and it will disrupt the ratio and not be effective. In fact, I remember having this conversation with your mom, Joy. And some people will not notice the effects of our products until they take them at the right time.
Yeah.
So that's something we could talk about at some point too. But there are numerous resources for Axio and great flyers and stuff. Our frequently asked questions section on our page, decent. So.
Do you guys have any questions?
Yeah, this is Carolyn.
Hi.
Hi. Can you
How you feeling?
Hey, I'm good. Can you talk a little bit about the cumulative effect again?
I knew you were going to ask that. This is what I've heard. I can certainly reach out and and ask, but my hunch would be that because there are some minerals in there that help with bringing things into the brain, that there's a layering effect. It's different than activation with NRF2, which is pulsatile.
Yeah.
Because this is actually more, even though this probably is a brain activation in a sense because of the combination, it's not necessarily like the perfect synergy that like we couldn't get a similar effect with other synergies. I think it's a cumulative effect because of the fact that it's more immediate, and that if you layer minerals and layer vitamins, that you're going to have a cumulative improvement. That would be my hunch, kind of like with chiropractic, you know, there's a layering effect to one adjustment on top of another.
Right. So, I mean, I asked because, for example, for my son, we noticed a really big improvement in his performance at school when, you know, like Joy, it became a non-negotiable, and he has it every morning before school, but because to take it every day from a cost perspective, we don't take it every single day. But I worry about, for example, not giving it to him on the weekends.
You know what I would do if I were you?
Yeah.
I would, well, first of all, I'm happy to gift you some because you know, I have some extra and be happy to help you out. I know that's not necessarily duplicatable, whatever the word is, but I also like my mama heart, just whatever, you know. But the other thing is I would do 3/4. I would do 3/4 of a pack.
Okay. Yeah.
I would cut them all and dump them into a bottle jar that is kind of like opaque, that you like color or something. So it's glass. Yeah. And then, you know, choose an amount that seems to work. That might be less than a packet, and then you might get more out of it that way. But I find sometimes you can get away with.
I appreciate it.
No problem. And they do say you can keep it for about 2 to 3 days in the fridge pre-mixed, without losing its potency. I'd personally just make less. That's me.
That makes sense. I mean, he actually doesn't like the flavor at all. So I do a raspberry in 8 ounces of water, and I add half a lemon juice for him. So I could easily do, you know,
6 ounces
on those days. Yeah.
Yeah. And then on the weekend, I would just do a half a pack.
Yeah. Okay.
And see what happens. You know, also the longer he's activated.
Yeah.
That's a cumulative effect, in my opinion, because, you know, like we can go a day or two, you know, we've forgotten once or twice just because we're running out the door to church or something. And there isn't something dramatic that happens by missing a day.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Yep. That's my opinion and my experience though. So.
Okay.
Anyone else have any questions?
No, I'm sorry. Mandy's having, I guess, a gallbladder attack, and they wanted to do surgery tonight. She said her liver enzymes are very high and inflamed.
She's stressed out.
Yeah, she said if her enzymes don't start to drop, they have to give surgery immediately. She's really sorry, you guys. She feels terrible. I'm like, don't worry about us. Those notes were key. So anyway, sorry, I digress. Well, I hope this was helpful. I will get the recording up, and then Kat, I'll post that in your team page once it's ready.
Not a problem. And again, like I can, if you raise certain questions and you want to put them in a situation, I can submit questions. I can't always guarantee a response, but I can submit questions to the doctors group. And Axio questions come up frequently, and I can get an answer for you. If there is no answer that comes from me, that just means that they haven't answered me. But I do go to a doctor's meeting, and I can ask these questions at the doctor's meeting. So if we collect questions that you want the answer to, I'm happy to do that. It just has to be very specific and written out for me, because I don't do the writing and all that piece. I'll read it to the doctor's meeting people.
What
Okay?
I have one quick question.
Yeah, sure.
And I do definitely feel like I understand this a little bit better, because a lot of times people are like, well, can you tell me about Axio? And I'm like, I don't know. It works. Like, I didn't have any kind of understanding of why. But if you were to put your patient on this, to recommend it to your patient, and they asked you, well, what is it? What would you say?
So depending on the patient, but what I say to the patient, because I have a lot of kid patients, but what I'll say is that really it's, first of all, they're going to have more of an immediate effect. A lot of people in this day and age are looking for an immediate response. That's just the fact. I hear feedback. Sorry, is that coming from me? Two, I would say something to the effect of, it's really brain food. It's kind of like it's not, to call it an energy drink is really unfair. It's more of an executive function drink. I just tell people, like, I'm a water snob. I don't really believe in drinking things other than water, occasionally tequila, but other than that, just really water. and that it took me a minute to appreciate what this did for me. But when people ask me, how are you still going? What are you doing? And all that stuff, I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's that I feel good and that I'm drinking Axio. I've been able to kind of wean myself down to just taking one a day. Like this weekend I took 2, but sometimes I just have 1 and it's okay. So I just tell them, like, this might be something that helps you to feel better. It makes my happy drink. I call it my happy drink. It really does lift my mood. It really does center me and focus me. It's my second favorite product that we have.
Thank you. Would it be fair to say that it activates the neurotransmitters in your brain that are related to mood?
It activates the precursors to the neurotransmitters. Yeah. So yes, I think that would be absolutely fair to say. I just still always would say to my patient, like, that doesn't mean we want to ignore your gut, because if you can't process things, but that's me.
Yeah.
But I think it can be a really quick way to bypass and buy me some time to heal somebody, and can be a great starter. It also originally was created to appeal to the population that had no interest in anti-aging. So this is really more about focus and energy. And so many people are depleted. And I find that this ends up being information for me. If they are actually responsive to this, like, I don't need a blood test to find out what's wrong with you. I'm not saying that, there are some people who are just like, it just tastes nice and they feel good and they're already happy. Like, I was already a pretty bubbly person. It just made me way more focused. So what was that? I've tried taking just, L-theanine. I've tried taking just pine bark because I'm a biohacker. I try these things. But the combination of having methylated B vitamins is definitely an antidepressant. Definitely makes people happier, more energy. The magnesium is really good for, porting everything into your body and releasing your muscles. The quercetin is it's an antioxidant. It's really powerful. The green tea, obviously we know the benefits of green tea. And then, the brain calming effect of L-theanine, and it's incredible. And the DMAE, I think, acts like Ritalin. So I think that's what people need these days is focus, energy, calming, brain power.
And so the only real difference between the decaf and the regular is it obviously doesn't have the caffeine and has no DMAE, correct?
Correct. And some say it's just as effective. I don't know. I think maybe it's hard to say because I'm pretty addicted to the dragon fruit. But as a sidebar, that is really, really cool. And I'll leave you with this. When I first tried Axio, I could only have a half of a decaf. That's it. That's all I could handle. And now I can have 2 caffeinated and maybe even a half a decaf. If I do more than that, I would be potentially a little bit of a hot mess and jittery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
But,
definitely want to wean on so too. Okay.
So I hope that helps.
Yeah, this was awesome. Thank you so much, Kat. Mandy, if you watch this, I hope you feel better. Thanks, guys. Have a great Sunday.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.